Yeah, answer is it. We all lie.
No talk. Hi, everyone. This is Carla from Gigglefest University to learn English by speaking English. And today I am part of Rehan's World of Connections and Meet an Indian. We are sponsored by the Institute of Peace, which is an online organization support promoting peace with one conversation at a time around the world. And today we are speaking with India for Meet an Indian. I have Suez Akram here, who I actually want to ask him what his name means. And he's going to do a short introduction of who he is. Suez, you may now talk.
All right, Carla. Well, everybody does get a sort of surprised when they hear my first name, Suez. And when I was born in 1956, the, uh, I was given another name which was not appreciated by some of the family. And my mother, who was all of 16 years old, picked up the newspaper, and the headline is Suez Canal Nationalized by Nasser. She said, all right, I'll give this name to my son so nobody can object to it. That's how I came to be called Suez, because I was born the day the canal was nationalized.
Oh, how cool. Can you tell
Yeah.
us a little about yourself so we know who you are?
Well. About myself, I grew up in a reasonably fine family, comfortable. My father was an engineer with the government of India. My mother holds a PhD in biochemistry. So I come from a family of very highly educated people. I'm the black sheep. I'm the only one who's got a master's. All of them have got postmasters and PhDs and whatnot.
Ah, why didn't you go on with your
Well,
education?
my interests were different. My interest was mainly languages and accents. I was a sort of an actor. Right from my childhood, I love to copy people's accents. People learn different languages, and that got me into theater. So I worked in theater and television for some time, but I didn't have that kind of madness that one has to have to go into cinema. Although a lot of my friends are today's stars in Indian cinema. Then slowly I moved into tourism. And there you are. I'm there in tourism ever since
Now,
1970.
how did you move from being in the being in acting to tourism? What got you there?
Actually, in 1975, I heard French language and I loved the sounds. So while acting, I started learning French at the university. And I so happened that I am born with the gift of languages. I pick up languages real fast, languages or accents. It's like I'm talking to you right now. A lot of words that I'm saying are coming in an American accent because that's what I'm hearing, so it comes out automatically. If I'm speaking to a Britisher, I will speak to him in British accent. So I was one of the good students, and my teacher was actually offered a job in tourism, and which he did not want to take up. So they asked him to recommend someone. He recommended me. So I started working in tourism because I was looking for a job. Theater was not paying very well. I needed to meet my expenses. So I joined tourism and doing theater at the same time. And I enjoyed tourism so much. I enjoyed showing my country to people. That was important. People coming
But
into India, especially from France, not knowing about India. So I said, hang on, let me tell you what India is. And doing that, and it worked. And of course, as a child, my father was posted in Iran. So we used to go for our school vacations. The result of that, I picked up Persian. So I speak Persian fluently, I speak French fluently, besides the other languages. And I use those languages. So I actually, when I'm working as a tour guide or a tour director, that's my stage, no less than acting.
it really isn't. You should come to the Learn English show and speak with me to people around the world someday.
Sure, anytime. You know, you have these call centers in and around Delhi and in India.
Yeah.
I'm called very often. I'm very often called as an accent trainer. I
Oh,
go into one
really?
center, yeah, teaching these call center agents how to understand when an American says something and how to respond and stuff like that. You know, when it's a British atmosphere, what to do there.
Most of the time, I don't think they have any idea of what to say to an American. And
Yes,
I hate it because I love talking to people from all over the world. But you call a call center and it's like,
a
wait,
call center,
what are they
Carla,
talking about?
call center people are programmed to say certain things, not to think by themselves. They're programmed to speak certain things, to speak about the product, and that's about it. That's a very sad commentary on call centers, but that's the truth.
But even if you call Amazon and you're asking about a particular product or a particular service, I feel like I'm talking to the wall at times because
I agree with you.
they do
I,
not answer. You know, you
I
don't get an answer to the question.
no, I fully agree with you because that's what irritates me when I'm talking, when I have to talk to a call center, especially having been a trainer there. I see how badly they've been trained. Been
Now,
trained not
how long have you been working with call centers?
off and on 2, 3 months a year for the last 10 years or more.
And they still don't
My
get it.
job is not to teach them to use their brains. My job is to teach them to understand the accent they're hearing. See, the Indian accent is totally different from the American. And even in America, you have so many different accents, right? For
Just
example,
for the fun of it, and I have been in India. Can you do
yeah,
your Indian English accent?
Indian English accent, you want to know, madam?
Yeah.
This is how Indians speak. Hello, good morning, madam. How are you?
It definitely is.
Or
I
else, Carla. But Carla, you have to listen. We Brits are different from you Americans and Indians. We speak differently, you know.
absolutely, and that is the point that I bring up all the time at my show. People say, I cannot speak English. I want to speak English like you do. And I'm like, you know, I'm sorry, that isn't going to happen. It's impossible because we're all different and we all
I,
have different
I would
ways.
disagree, Carla. It would be impossible because my worst method of learning the languages or the accents has been to immerse myself among those people, which I learned as a child in Iran, as a 12-year-old. I would go from my house about 4:15, 4:30 in the evening, all alone, into the center of the town, not understanding a word and just roaming around and hearing the sounds, getting used to the sounds. And then 15 days later, I get up in the morning, I tell my mom, hey mom, I had a big dream and I couldn't understand a word of it. Oh, she said, that means you can speak Persian now. And she handed me a long list. Go, go buy this stuff for me for the house. And I went scared, but I did go and I managed it. That, that made fun, because then I could assimilate the sounds. The problem that I have analyzed is that in your mother tongue, you do not have a particular sound, you don't hear it. And if you don't hear it, you can't reproduce it. I am lucky. My mother tongue is Urdu. And Urdu is a language which has sounds from French, from Persian, from Arabic, English, Spanish. So we are so used to, pronouncing words, pronouncing sounds that a lot of people can't, because our ears are familiar to it. So it becomes easier for us, much more easier than the others. And that's what I try and teach the people. Learn to hear the sound, and then you can reproduce it.
Can you help me learn to explain that to another person? Because
I can try.
you are exactly correct. What I have noticed is that people do not necessarily listen, although they may think that they understand English, but they may not really understand because they are not listening to the words that
Because their ears are not used to that sound.
right.
Simple as that. Simple. It's not a part of their mother tongue. The language they're most at ease in does not have that letter. They'll have a problem pronouncing it. Like the Arabs don't have P. So everything is barking, not parking. They don't park. They bark. That's the nearest sound to it. That's a fact.
Oh, I hear what you're saying. And that's important for people to understand.
And the best thing, Carla, is that P and B are pronounced with both the lips.
Yeah.
But there's a very slight distinction between P and B. And that's where the Arabs get caught. They get caught.
Absolutely. Well, P is an unvoiced sound and B is a voiced sound. And I know
Yeah,
that because I used to teach reading
yeah,
and I needed to teach kids who were learning disabled to recognize how to make the sounds,
exactly.
or they wouldn't be able to read. And people don't realize that is what you need in order to read, to understand. Like,
I enjoy when I work with the French. They tell me, "Hey, how long have you lived in France?" And the best part is, I've been to France just for my vacations 3 or 4 times. I never learned French in France. I learned it in India. But I worked so much with the French that I picked up their inflections, which a lot of people can't because of this deafness of sound. Same thing with the Iranians. I speak to the Iranians. I was in Canada about 8 years back. And my cousins and everybody said, "Hey, what do you want to eat?" I said, "I want to eat Iranian kebabs and Iranian bread." So they got thinking. They located a store on Young Street. We went there, and there was this young, pretty lady who was there, Iranian lady who was attending the customers. And here we were 3 guys talking in Urdu to each other. And I get up to the counter and I order in perfect Persian. I want this, I want this. She said, oh my God, how long have you lived in India or Pakistan that you speak Urdu? She assumed me to be an Iranian. I said, no, young lady, I'm an Indian who lived a little bit in your country and picked up the languages. Called the parents, they talked to me. Instead of giving me the stuff immediately, it took them an hour because they wanted to know so many things. How did I learn? What, this, that, and the other? And I got a 50% discount. They said, you deserve it.
Right.
Non-Iranian speaking the language. And if you can speak the language of the person to whom you're speaking, a lot of stuff gets done. You don't have to try very hard.
And how can I help people become less scared of learning the language? There are literally thousands of people I reach on my show every day. I'm not doing it today because Fridays I don't do it. And in reaching these people, they're watching and they keep on watching regularly, but they are not coming in.
They have to expose themselves to the sounds of any language, be it American English or any other English. Once they expose themselves to sounds, just listen to them. They'll start finding the differences. That's how I learned Persian as a 12-year-old. I would watch television 8 hours a day in Persian, not understanding a thing. But at the end of a week or two, I started getting words out of it. Okay, this is one word, this is one word, and this is how it should be pronounced. And it started working. First thing is to get used to the sounds. That's my way. Once
And it's, go on.
no, that's it.
It's interesting because when Rehan first talked me into doing this, my first thing is I don't know any Urdu. And I didn't even, I didn't even know Urdu existed in the beginning. And not only did I not know any Urdu, I said, how can I teach them English? I'm not an English speaking teacher. And he said, you just go and you speak to them. Little did I know from the very first conversation, I was having so much fun. I wanted to do it more. But, he told me that, and it was so correct. And he says, people say they can't understand me. He said that to me. He said, I have no idea why they say that. I can understand you perfectly. And I remember
Let me
having a little
let,
conversation
let
with
me
him.
give you an example. Let me give you an example of something you just said. From an Indian viewpoint, you can people can understand you. Your accent can. The T is silent in the end. So they say, hey, what's she saying? That we can understand her or can't understand her? That gets confused. If you speak with a particular American accent, you've neutralized it. You've neutralized the American accent a lot. But certain things will always be there, which will worry these people. Hey, what's she saying? So instead of saying can't, if you said people cannot understand me, that would go better. These small things which you wouldn't understand, I would understand because being an Indian, I know what problems I faced when people spoke to me in different accents.
That makes so much sense. I have many, many Indian friends who are here. And of
Yeah.
course, Indian friends in India because I'm associated with the Art of Living and now Rehan.
Mm.
And I have gotten used to being able to understand them. But I
Yes,
remember when I first began talking to them, I was like, I don't know what you said. And I am not sure. I mean, many times when they were talking to each other, they went back to their Hindi or their, spoken
yeah,
language. And I would be listening and I'm like, I don't know what you're saying, until finally I began to understand it because I heard so much of it.
exactly. You heard the sounds, you started distinguishing between the words. That's the best way to learn any language, at
I
least my
have
way.
to say this. People were writing in here, no English class today? No, not on Fridays. This is usually the ladies only show, but the ladies are not coming. So I am taking it to do my work that I do with Rehan in other ways today. This is a riot. You can talk to me on Monday.
I still remember once I started picking up the accents from here and there. Then I said, hang on, I have to live in India. India's got what, 300 languages? Let me see how many I can learn without formally studying. So I went to Calcutta, just dunked myself into Bengal, refused to speak any Hindi or any other language, made fun of myself. People used to laugh at me. It didn't bother me. But when I came back a month later, I was speaking their language. And 4 years back, I went to Bangladesh for a week. I was scared that I may or may not be able to communicate with the people. I was pleasantly surprised that I could talk to them perfectly fine because my brain had got used to those sounds, their sounds, and it made it easier. Similar thing happened with Punjabi. Living in Delhi, you got a lot of Punjabi friends, so you start speaking with them, you start picking it up. I picked up, and eventually I ended up speaking 14 languages. Now I have no problems in most of India except South India, which I've not been able to do. But other areas, I never have a problem. I go there, I speak their language, and believe me, things get done fast.
How many languages do you actually speak?
14.
And what are they?
Of course, French, Arabic, English, Persian, Punjabi, Bengali, Marathi, Gujarati, and the rest of them are dialects of each other from India and Nepal.
Wow. And it came easily.
Pardon?
And all these languages came to you easily.
Yes, just like that. Moving around in that area, in that circle, getting used to the sounds and then trying to speak, being made fun of when I made mistakes. And people, you don't mind people laughing at you? I said, no, at least somebody gets to laugh because of me. I'm happy. I take it that way.
And that's the whole another point that I keep on making, and I make it every day. You got to make mistakes in order to learn. Who
Absolutely.
cares
You
if
don't,
they laugh at you? Who cares?
how can you not make mistakes when learning? Come on. That's fine. Make mistakes, make people laugh. Let them laugh at your mistakes, but they will correct you, and that's how you learn.
Right. So why are people so afraid of making a mistake? I want your viewpoint on that. I have my own viewpoint, but
I'm personally not afraid of making a mistake, but a lot of people just don't want to look like fools. No, people will laugh at us, will joke at us. Fine. I don't mind that, but they're scared. There's a fear somewhere of not being able to do it. hang on. Nobody's born, like my grandmother used to say, nobody's born with the knowledge. You learn it as you go on in life. You learn good stuff, you learn bad stuff, you may not learn some stuff. That's all a part of life.
Now, would you agree with me that not only is failure the steps to success, but you need to continue to go work on your journey, what you love to do, in order
All the
to
time.
be successful? You can't be afraid to do that.
Absolutely, all the time. Believe me, Carla, at times any company would call me, hey, can you direct a tour in that area? That's an area I have not been to ever. Never been there. I don't know the routes. I, but luckily I know the language. So I say, yeah, sure, why not? But don't blame me if I make a mistake. I tell them straight away. I don't know the area, but I'll make sure that your clients come back happy. I go and learn. I go on a learning curve. I tell the clients also, hang on, I've never been there, but I know what is there. I've read about it, I've heard about it, and I'm going to show it to you with a different viewpoint. And then get you to talk to locals and get their point of view. And believe me, it's worked every time.
I am sure it does. Every time I do one of these interviews, that's what it is for me.
I
Sure,
never,
I can talk to the person. Do I know
no,
what
no,
I'm going to say? No, I have
no.
absolutely no idea.
The only thing I make sure is I always stay polite with the locals instead of trying to tell them, look, I know this. No, I tell them, hey, I don't know anything about your place. Please tell me. So that makes the man feel better, the man or a woman who is there. Oh, he doesn't know anything. I have to tell him. That gives a sense of pride. And they tell me a whole lot, which I can then translate for my people and retain for future use.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No, there's nothing wrong at all. I know driving somewhere, we don't know the way. My response is stop and ask. Oh no, how can we ask? They'll laugh at us or something like that. I said, why not? Let them laugh. Good, at least they'll be happy. But we'll know the route.
You don't need to know the route. You don't need to know anything.
You don't need to
Life,
pre-
go
you
on.
don't need to pre-know anything. Just go and see and discover and learn.
And that is what life is about. Really, we only have this very moment. The past is gone, the mistake's done, and
Yeah,
the
and the
future
future we
you
don't know.
don't know.
Exactly. So what
Only
is
this very moment.
exactly?
So let's talk about your tourism for a while. Where have you taken people on tours?
I have done almost all of India, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh. That is professionally. Personally, I've done most of Europe and Canada.
How do you know Rehan?
On Facebook.
Oh, that's how you met?
Yeah. We haven't met in person yet.
Someone just wrote in the chat, and I love it. Humility is the key to success. And that's so true. Just, being able to learn anything. And the same man wrote, learning any new languages can be intimidating. I know a lot of Europeans, particularly in Germany and France, who learn English from playing video games online.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very
I
true.
mean, I remember I remember, Carla, about 10 years ago, I had a tour group from Belgium speaking Flemish. End of 3 days, I was understanding half their conversation because Flemish, German, and English are the same group of languages. And I could do that because my ears were very open to sound and to connect. And even the Belgians were surprised when I'd go in the morning and see them. Oh, yeah, Marga. Hey, where did you learn that from? I learned it from you guys. You say, who are you, Marga? Who are you? Good. Marga. Morning. Guten Morgen. You say in German. Oh, yeah, we didn't realize that. And that's how I get a lot of words out of them. Some of them got scared of it because, oh my God, we can't talk. We'll understand. But yeah, it helps pick up languages. And because of French, I can follow a bit of Spanish and Italian too. Being the same group, the vocabulary is common. It's just the pronunciation which is different. Often in India, we have a lot of Afghans coming in for medical treatment in hospitals. If I'm in a hospital and I see an Afghan in trouble, I just go and intervene. Speak Persian with a different accent, and that's it. And it helps them out.
Wow.
Huh?
I'm fascinated by this.
The Persian spoken in an Iranian accent is quite different from what is spoken in the spoken as Dari in Afghanistan. The official language of Afghanistan is Dari, which is basically 99% Persian with a different accent.
Amazing.
So if you have your ears open, if the accent is different, you can catch the words. And there you are, you can help them out. My mother used to do, my mom, after teaching in Iran, she came to India, she got into the army, medical research, and where we had a lot of Afghan army officers coming for treatment who didn't know much of English. Mom used to go and help them.
How fascinating.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
It really is. I don't think people realize it.
You see, Carla, I have noticed that if you speak more than 2, 3 languages, you can learn fourth, fifth, sixth much easier. Because then your ears are open to different sounds.
I had a very interesting experience with Hebrew. When I was a teenager, I was fluent in Hebrew. I am no longer fluent. However, I went back a few years ago for a tiny bit and I took Hebrew at the synagogue that I belonged to. And very quickly, it was like it all came back, like I hadn't done anything.
It comes back. If you had known it as a child, it's somewhere hidden in the back of the brain. And you do that, like I tell you about Persian, I learned it, 35, 40 years ago, or even longer. And I came to India, then I wasn't speaking it. Then suddenly in 1983, Iranian tourists started coming in. In the business, they knew that this guy speaks Persian, so they caught me and said, okay, you travel with this group. I said, hang on, I haven't spoken it for years. But believe me, it took 15 to 20 minutes and I was speaking. Surrounded by Iranians, the language came out all by itself.
Wow.
My only regret in life has been I learned Arabic and I wanted to learn Hebrew because they're sister languages. They're very close to each other. What do you call a day in Hebrew? What's the word for it?
You call what?
A day.
A year?
Day.
Day yom.
Yom. It's the same in Arabic, by the way.
Well, shalom is salam.
Salams, shalom. There's a whole lot of in common. Unfortunately, I couldn't find. There was one teacher of Hebrew in the university I was studying, and by the time I got to him to ask him to teach me, he was transferred out. Otherwise, I was very keen on learning that.
Hebrew is, it seems difficult
It
because
is-
the alphabet is so different, but it really isn't that difficult.
No, it is not. I'm sure it is not. And then it's like I said, Arabic and Hebrew are sister languages. So if
Right.
I know Arabic, it's easier for me to learn Hebrew, or vice versa.
True. So have you learned Arabic yet?
Yeah, I speak a bit of Arabic. No practice, that's the problem.
So if, well, that would be the same with Hebrew. You would need to go and,
Yeah, if I live for 6 months, five to 6 months in an Arab country, I'm sure I'll come back speaking Arab well enough to teach them.
and then you could also pick up Hebrew and be able to speak people.
Yeah.
Wow.
The ideal would be to go to Israel. On one side you have Hebrew, the other you have Arabic.
Now, can you travel to Israel? I know that
As an,
Pakistanis cannot go to
as an Indian, there's no restriction.
Oh, great.
Yeah. I have an Indian passport, so I can travel to Israel.
That reminds me, I have to work on my
And if they
passport.
stamp, if Israel stamps the visa on my passport, then the Arab countries will not let me in. So Israel has now found a way out. They give a paper visa,
Oh,
you have a piece of paper, so that your passport doesn't get stamped.
that makes sense.
Iran is doing the same because some countries saying, "Oh, you've been to Iran, then you can't come to us." They started issuing for tourists a paper visa.
Cool. What words of wisdom would you like to leave me with?
That's a tough question. Wisdom, wisdom, wisdom. And I'm not a wise guy, but anyway, uh, my thing is learn as much languages as you can. That will increase brotherhood and understanding among people.
Can I get you to come to the Learn English show one night and speak with me there?
Definitely, definitely, anytime.
We'll talk about it after I sign off. I want
All right.
you to come because I think you have something you can offer to the group that I cannot offer because of your understanding of languages.
To each his or her specialty. Like when they train in India, when they train tour guides, 6 months of classroom, 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 and then it comes to field training. They have to call me. The first batch that came to me, 100 guys, I had 2 days to teach them in the field. First thing I told them, I said, I'm not going to talk to you about the monuments or history. Shut up. You can read it, you can find it on the net. I'm going to tell you what not to do, how to behave yourself. First, they made a face, but at the end of 2 days, they all came and hugged me. They said, oh my God, this is something we didn't know. So that makes a difference.
Right. I do agree with that because I toured Rajasthan once and we had an Indian guide who was really very sweet and very funny, but he could have taught us, he could have done a little better.
One can always do a little better.
True.
And then
With
I don't take
Go on.
Pardon?
Go on.
I don't take normal. I said I don't take normal tours out in India. I take special purpose tours, be it culinary, be it wildlife, or something specializing. I take those. So I have to do a different kind of work. It's not just this palace or this temple.
We
No one
did.
gets to use.
We didn't quite do that either. One day we went on a safari. It
Yeah,
was really cool. I was glad I went. Of course, we went to the Taj Mahal.
of course.
You got to do that if you're in India.
Yeah,
In any case, I do need to end this. I hate to do it, but
that's all right.
we
Fine.
are over the time anyway. Thank you so much for your time and energy.
You're welcome, Carla. I think I should thank you.
Please don't go anywhere. I want to talk to you after we go off air.
I'm not going anywhere.
And I want to remind everyone that we are sponsored by the Institute of Peace, which is an online organization promoting peace throughout the world, one conversation at a time. And that's why I do these interviews. And actually, I will be back a little later to speak to someone from Israel.
Perfect.
About a book she has just written. But for now, we're going to wave goodbye and laugh ourselves out.
And in India, one of my best friends is a good person.